Greetings, and welcome to The Thirsty Mage, the podcast that often gets sidetracked while on a quest. I am your host and triple triad apologist David Lloyd, and this week we discuss some of our favorite minigames found within RPGs. All of the great RPGs of our time have featured fun minigames, whether it's snowboarding as Cloud in Final Fantasy VII, or batting practice for Kiryu in Yakuza. Tonight we reveal the ones that padded our playtimes the most. Joining me tonight is a man we had to peel off the minigames kicking and screaming at the Golden Saucer. It's Casey Gibson.
Well, I finally hit the $2 million MGP mount, so I don't need to be in the Golden Saucer nearly as much now anymore, but I still find myself going there and playing all those mini games, get that MGP, man. It's addicting. Song is in my head forever.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got that cactus mount, so it's bucket list. One more off the bucket list, right?
Yeah, $2 million it cost, but man, it felt great, and it's such a outlandish, goofy, fun, and I love the little cactuars, so yeah, they look great.
And also joining us is the only one that's been the only one willing to play the Mage's drinking minigame. It's Chris Reed.
You see, the thing about that is if you're the only one playing, you're going to win. So you're always going to win and get drunk. It's a win-win no matter what you do.
Yeah, there are no losers in the Mage's drinking game.
I mean, I might be sad and lonely in the corner doing it, but I'm still winning, and that's what matters.
I guess the only loser is the bartender that has to clean up afterwards.
Yeah,
and
that's
Jordan.
Right.
Well, speaking of the Mage's drinking minigame, Chris, you're the only one that actually brought a drink to the pub tonight. So why don't you kick off the drink discussion?
Yeah, and I promise this isn't becoming a problem. But I'm just going through my fridge and going through what beers I have to talk about. And still with the Bent Paddle Brewery from Duluth, Minnesota. And right now I'm just drinking their Venture Pils, it's a Pilsner. Pilsners are basically all the same. It's just a matter of some smell better than the others. They're all basically made the same. They all taste the same. That's why they're so popular, because you can make a bunch of them and you get the same thing no matter what you get. And so this is a Pilsner. It's gonna Pilsner. It's perfectly fine. It's just, whatever. It's just an average beer, which is basically, in my view, all Pilsner can ever be. But it doesn't smell terrible like some of the mass-produced ones. So that's what I got tonight.
Good old Pilsner.
How about you, Casey? What have any notable drinks or food these days for you?
Well, I just finished my second cup of coffee there, and now I got my big old glass of water, but no, nothing too crazy. I guess, well, I'm trying to think. It's been a while now because my darn computer broke last week, which stunk, but also it, low-key was awesome, right? Because now I got a big, nice baller computer for Endwalker. And it's going into Final Fantasy and setting it up to the high settings and still running at 60 frames. It's that's right, baby. But did I mention, I know I mentioned the French press a while ago, but I needed a grinder. I forget if I had updated at that point. Regardless, I'm all set up now, so I've done the French press. So I have tried actually and gotten some French vanilla beans, and then we just got cinnamon, Cinnabon, I don't know, some sort of cinnamon flavor thing, Cinnabon flavor, and surprisingly good, but weird. It's weird to have that flavor with a coffee, but yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, especially in a French press coffee, because it's still that. That's kind of a stronger brew, drip brew, I guess. That's kind of the taste I get from the French press. Is it's a stronger coffee. Mm-hmm. So to have kind of that cinnamon flavor to go with it, I can see how that could throw off your taste buds a little bit, make it not seem right.
Yeah, I like the French vanilla ones better personally, but yeah, not bad.
Yeah, there's not much for me. I've gone through most of my stock. I'll have to pick up some more. Don't leave the house all that often, so it's it's a trip, it's a chore to get them, but it's not a big deal. Been just mostly surviving off of still. But at the time of this recording, it's a couple of weeks after Halloween, and I'm still. We're not even halfway through the kids' candy yet, so that's kind of been
working on those.
Yeah, that's just still working on that and keep me satiated until I can get out to the beer store again. So
as I say, you can only afford to have one sort of hangover at a time. You can't have a booze and a candy hangover all at once. It'd be no good.
Yeah, no, that's a dangerous combination. That's something the bartender would not be pleased with if they had to clean that up. But yeah, I guess getting off of the bartender's mopping minigame, we move on to our minigames found in RPGs, and it's kind of been a staple from very early on, like even way back when the first RPGs all seemed to have like little games here and there to kind of give you something to do off the beaten path, or to just give you an extra little task, something to
break up the monotony of the grind.
The grind, that's right. Yeah, it can't all be dungeons and killing monsters and villains. Sometimes you have to take a break. You have to relax for a few minutes. And I could think of no better mini game to start off with than fishing. This is a JRPG staple.
Yeah, it doesn't get more true and tried, as they say.
Yeah, it was funny when doing some research for the fishing games. I had a good chuckle at a couple message boards where people couldn't quite understand why fishing has become such a staple in JRPGs, and I laughed at a couple of the responses that said, "Japan's an island, they're genius. They do a lot of fishing." So
two together, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we don't have to look too far to see where the connection came in, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Like, I know fishing is a very common pastime in Japan. A lot of it's one of those things where I could see it being like a very generational, passing down the tried traditions of fishing and how much kind of our work and artistic and thought process goes into it. So it only makes sense
that be a bonding thing too for families, right? Like a lot of downtime, so it's sort of good. I mean, I remember going fishing with my dad growing up too. I mean, and granted, I grew up on Long Island, so again, yeah, an island, right? So fishing was pretty prevalent, but yeah, I think it's something that people could bond over too.
Yeah, and it also just taps into that dopamine drip from the brain, right? I mean, you cast it out, you get something, or you don't, you reel it back in. Once you get something, though, it's like, oh, this is great. You want to keep going. And you just keep repeating the same motions over and over again, and it's just endlessly satisfying until you have to stop.
Till it gets too dark or you run out of beer.
Well, and like you said, though, it's relaxing. Like especially when you're in a video game or in an RPG. Like you said, going into the dungeon is usually, there's stress involved. There's a lot of thinking. By the time you get out, you're exhausted, and you don't want to. You need to pace yourself, and having this kind of distraction to just take a moment and breathe and reset your mind, that sort of thing. It's just the perfect complement for an RPG, and there's so many games that do fishing. Like, it's in countless JRPGs. Pretty hard to find a JRPG without one. But I'm gonna have to go ahead and say that I think Final Fantasy 15 may have the best fishing game in a JRPG.
I've never played it, so you're gonna have to tell me how it works.
Well, it's very there's a lot. It's very technical, a lot to it. So the rod itself.
They took the relaxing part out of the game.
Yeah, that's right. they kind of did a little bit, I think. The equipment is very much almost like a JRPG in the sense that, like, there's different lines, there's different lures, there's different rods, and there's different reels. So you got like 4 components before you even get out and cast your line. And there's like tons of upgrades. Like, there are countless lures in this game that are better for some fish and not others. And basically, when you get to the spot where the designated fishing spot on the mini map, it shows like where the fish are kind of congregating in your line of sight. So you cast it out, and it's pretty much real fishing. Like you cast it out, it falls down, and you got to reel it in a bit to kind of get the fish to bite it. You got to make your lure dance. And when the fish kind of latches on, then you get the battle, I guess, with the fish, where you're trying to reel it in, and as it's moving from left to right, like you have to move your line or your rod in the same direction so that it doesn't break. And I suppose if I was going to criticize it, it might be that some of the battles or some of the fights with the fish go on a little long, because it can take a few minutes if you get one of the bigger fish, and it can be frustrating when the big fish break your line and you have to start over, because you do have to like buy new lures and stuff if you lose them. So and then you do the same thing with like lines, like you have to have an inventory of lines in your ready, so if they keep breaking you'll have to buy more. So but yeah, it's just Final Fantasy 15 is a gorgeous game, so it like there's so many different spots. Like I know we joke about how it's like they take the relaxing part out of the game, but at the same time a lot of it is like the location. Like you're kind of sitting on the side of a pond or like in the ocean or something like that, and you kind of just have this serene environment around you that looks beautiful, like high def. Now you can get like the 4K upgrade now if you got a PS5, and it's just you and the fish, and you can take your time and catch those fish, and then you can even fry them up when you go camping afterwards, because at nighttime you go to the campsite and you have Ignis roast you up a nice fish dish. So yeah, it's just got the whole package, I think.
Do you get some buffs from that? From the food?
Yeah. Yeah, depending on what food's made, it'll give different buffs and stuff. So, How about you, Chris? Have you ever played Final Fantasy 15?
I have, and I was just going to say, Final Fantasy 15, I just think is one of the more interesting games from that generation. I think it's actually kind of underrated in many ways. And yeah, that fishing game is just, it has no reason to be that in-depth or that good. And it's like, okay, yeah, all right, we'll just keep doing this now. This is pretty cool. I can keep on my road trip and fish while we're at it. So.
Yeah. David, have you tested out the fishing on the Pocket Edition?
I can't say I got that far. I didn't get past pushing the car to the gas station. That didn't even get that far. So that tells you how much I played of the Pocket Edition.
One of these days, I'd like to play Final Fantasy 15, but there's just not enough time.
Yeah,
too many dang games.
Yeah, but there's another game I know it's been a hot minute since you played Eve's 8, but I know they've got a pretty good, pretty fun fishing system set up there too. Yeah.
That again, it's sort of a little bit more active, right? Not to the levels that it sounds Final Fantasy 15's at, but you're sort of an area where you'll see the fish out there. I think a little circle comes up and you sort of cast in that direction. And then it's a combination of hitting, the X button, and then all of a sudden little prompts come up, whether it be, pointing in one direction or like circling on the analog stick or something, or pressing a button down. And then it'll be back to mashing. And there's like a little tiny or little bar that sort of shows you the progress. And then when it gets all the way to the right-hand side, boom, you catch the fish. I think, again, it's sort of... it's like a good combination of like having to pay attention, you know what I mean? And like, but it's not too strenuous. Like you have to mash X, but it's not like, like you're playing someone in a Mario Party game where it's like you're, life or death. Like I need to hit this thing as fast as I can. So, I think a nice little distraction, right? And then I'm trying to think, I see you got it here right down that it feeds the Pelican back at the home base for some rewards. So it does give you like some good incentive to go out there and do it as well.
Yeah, I remember, I think like I can't remember how many different fish there are, but I just remember like each time you get a new species of fish, you're supposed to take it to like the pelican or the bird up on top of the hill and you feed it, and then it gives you, I can't remember exactly what the rewards were, but I just remember, dropping the fish off there and getting something back. Might even just be an achievement. I can't. It's been a little while since I played that one myself. Yeah. But yeah, I remember a couple times, like you said, it's not super mashy, but I still used the shirt hack on my controller.
Old habits.
You stick your shirt on the, I don't know who else, I'm sure everyone does this, where they stick their shirt on the controller and then just rub the other side of the shirt. I don't know what about putting a piece of fabric in between the button. I guess it just makes it easier to wipe across the button, I guess, having that extra layer of fabric
less of a
there.
Bridge, right? Like it adds like a little angle or a little bridge up there, if you will.
Yeah, but hearing that button fly.
I can't say I've ever done that.
Really? You've never done the shirt? You're not even in Mario Party?
No, I mash it like a man. No, I mean, it sounds like something I might have to explore next time I play Mario Party.
Yeah, I think so. You might have to give that one a try.
Now, Chris, have you played Ys 8?
I have, yeah. But it was so long ago. I just remember the mechanics of the fishing. I don't remember what you get from the pelican. I know you get something, but I don't know what that dumb bird gives you for catching the fish.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like a health upgrade, or I can't even remember, or it might even have been a piece of metal lignet to make a new sword or something, like, or it might even have varied.
Like it could make sense. Yeah, like I said, I don't remember. I'm so bad. My memory's so bad with games, like especially the, like smaller parts of them. It's like oh, I'm done playing. It's out of my mind.
Yeah, well, and for you, that was like 3 years ago too. So,
what a beautiful surprise! Like, what a great review game. It's like go in and not really know much about, and then to play Ys 8 and be like, wow,
those are the best. Yeah. But Chris
good.
added a game to our list, and I'm glad you did, because when I was doing the research, I kept reading about how great the fishing was in Breath of Fire, but I've never played a Breath of Fire, so I was a little hesitant to talk about it. But I'm glad we got you here to let us know how it is.
Yeah, and the thing about the Breath of Fire series is I think it's the third game where the fishing mechanics really take off. I think they were in the first two. Well, I know they were in Breath of Fire 2 because there's a famous mistranslation or bad translation in Breath of Fire 2 where I think it says, like, instead of, load or bait, it says lod or bait or something like that. So it's pretty famous for bad translation work. But yeah, 3 was the one that most people look back to as like the pinnacle or like the start of like really good fishing mechanics in games. And it's great because, when you throw it out, you cast it and the fish hooks, it says in big letters, fight, to reel in the fish, which is just fantastic. And
mano.
Exactly. It's you against that fish. And what's interesting is those mechanics where you're reeling it in and you're trying to keep a fish within like a certain color zone. Very, very similar to what you would find in Stardew Valley. So if people have played that game but haven't played the Breath of Fire games, those fishing mechanics are really close. So and given what that developer has said in the past, it's likely that series is the inspiration for that. I know that game that's going to be coming out from the developer of The Messenger, their RPG they're making. One of their latest videos was showing about how they're fishing, and they reference Breath of Fire in that when they're talking about that. So yeah, it's a series that has a long history for its fishing mechanics. Of all things, it probably needs something else because, frankly, I don't think
just
those
real
games
quick,
are very good.
That game is called The Sea of Stars. It looks awesome, and if you haven't heard of it, go check out a video. Very good.
I supported on Kickstarter, so I'm looking forward to when that comes out.
Yeah, I met those guys at PAX East, and like super awesome, very, very friendly guys. And then whatchamacallit was awesome. The Messenger. So
The Messenger.
I would imagine that this game's going to have a super high level, of detail and polish, and high hopes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's actually funny. Speaking of like just fishing games. And now I can't think of the name. I got Game Pass last night because for $1, and I wanted to try Forza. But God, now it's not pulling up. I was looking through all the free games, you know what I mean? And there was one, a little RPG that's all about fishing, and now I can't freaking. I'm buckling under the pressure here to try and pull this up quickly, and I'm not doing it. at all.
Well, there were the old Game Boy games like the Legend of the River King. Those were straight up fishing RPGs, right? Like that was the whole game. You fish.
It's called Moonglow Bay. And it's
okay, yeah.
it's very much, it's like about, you're like literally a fisherman, and you got like this cute little boat, and it's like voxel graphics. I put it, it's in Game Pass, so if you got Game Pass, you can get it right now. I put it on my to-do list kind of thing. Looks pretty good. Yeah. And fitting that we're talking about fishing mini games.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna sneak in a Cold Steel game, even though I didn't put it on the list.
I was gonna give us compliments for not mentioning Trails game so far, but way to ruin that.
Yeah. No, I just pop it onto people now. I'm not even writing it down anymore. You just have to assume it's on its way.
We were getting close to the 20-minute mark, and we can't see David, but I could tell he was like flitching, you know what I mean? Like twitching. He had to get it out.
This is the mage's drinking game. Whenever you hear a Trails reference, then you take a shot. So can't disappoint the folks at home.
I feel bad for everyone listening, man.
Yeah, well, we're getting drunk early this week, but so the fishing, the way the fishing works there is it's actually pretty easy. The way it works is that you hook a fish. So there's like I guess when you first throw the reel in, there's like a circle, like a meter, I guess, like almost like a speedometer. And when it gets to a certain, so the little arrow is kind of going around the circle, and when it gets to, the colored area, there's like red and green or something. I can't remember the colors, but there's like good and great, and you're trying to like stop the arrow in the great section, and so and that's basically landing the fish. And then what happens is it goes to this other screen where you see the fish kind of pulling against, the fish is down below, and you just hold the button to reel, and you can see the fish coming towards you. But then the fish gets really mad, and then that's when you have to let go of reeling, and you have to let it go a little bit. So you see the fish kind of going away, and then when the fish stops being mad, you have to quickly hit the button again to start reeling again.
Hot and cold.
Hot and cold is just a dance. It's a dance with the fish, and all you do is you keep having that dance until you get them to the dock, and then you got your fish. And depending on the reel the rod you have, like there's different rods throughout the game. They can make them easier or harder. Obviously, if you have a bigger fish and a better rod, it's easier. And when you get like the strongest rod in the game, the fishing is actually quite easy, so it's not too hard. But that's another relaxing way to fish, and especially when you're playing like an 80 or 90 hour RPG like Trails.
Boom.
If I'm correct, Warframe. This isn't even an RPG, right? Isn't Warframe it's on. I think it's on Switch, but I think it's on every console. It's on. I just put it on here kind of as a joke. It has a heavy RPG elements. You level up your character and your equipment and everything. It just needs some mention for its fantastic fishing mode, because you are a beast space ninja jumping around and flipping around the universe, but you can stop and spear fish in the water to craft things like a space ninja does. I don't know. It just deserves some credit for being absolutely ridiculous and incorporating fishing into, again, space ninja fun. Yeah.
I was going to say, that you've also got the MMO fishing, which I guess like it is a side game, but it isn't. Like in Warcraft, like you level up your fishing, and then you can use, similar to other games, you can use those fish to cook meals and get buffs and stuff, but you'll actually level it up as you go. And then like Final Fantasy 14 also has fishing, but it's actually like its own job, and there's actually like a story associated with it. So it's actually a little bit more fleshed out in that sense, but both of those are pretty minimalistic. Like fish, like Warcraft, you like literally throw like your fish, your line out there and just wait for the bobber, and like it could click 5 times, and he'll nibble at it 5 times, and like then he'll bite it one of those 5 times essentially. So it's just like, you just sit there and have to like listen. It's very very passive. It's one of those things that like people totally bot all the time because they don't want to actually do it.
Well, I guess we could finish up our fish discussion with a topical game. This game is now available in the Nintendo Online expansion pack. Ooh. And this is, I'm sure we all did this back in the day. I'm sure all three of us have. The Ocarina of Time fishing game.
Oh, yes.
Of course. That annoying fishing game. That I felt like, I mean, there might be a rhyme and a reason to, like, behind it, like, more fleshed out. But I feel like as a kid, it was just like, I am guessing and hoping for the best here. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I liked when I was, getting a refresher on how it worked on YouTube. Every video that that was coming up were all like ways to hack the fishing game. And I'm like, does nobody just play the fishing game properly? I need to see how to really do it. Like, they're showing these weird, like, if Link is standing in a certain spot and throws the reel in a certain area, then like the fish like glitches into, like, oh my goodness, I just want to see how it works. And yeah, like, it's funny because, like you said, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of reason or rhyme to it. Like, you target the fish with like the Z targeting, and then you shoot the line off, and then when it bites, it just like the camera zooms in onto the fish, so you don't even really see like what's going on necessarily.
Doing. Yeah,
you're just kind of pulling at the fish and hoping that he doesn't run away, and then
I'm hoping
eventually
this is back towards my character.
Yeah, that's right. If the line wasn't there, I wouldn't even know where the character was.
Yeah, it was. It's a product of its time, but back in the day, it was great. And I just love the guy that owns the pond, or the who you have to buy the rod from. He's like, especially after you go back, he's like, I don't have any other customers, and you haven't been here in 7 years. Like, what is this? All right, now I can go fishing again.
And I think it's a heart piece, isn't it? For getting the big one.
I believe so.
Yeah, you get a heart piece, and I
heart
think
container.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important. I always love getting those heart containers.
Yeah.
But then I guess if you think about it, right, that had to be one of the earlier fishing 3D fishing games.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I'm sure there was a Bassmaster or something on the N64 at some point, but yeah, as far as like a side quest JRPG fishing game,
a polygonal fishing game.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it was big.
Exactly. Well, that brings us to what I think is probably the second biggest RPG minigame that we've come across. And these are the card-based ones. So, I mean, there's a lot of different flavors of this. There's, numerical card games in RPGs, or there's kind of like Magic the Gathering style, I suppose, where you have like or you have, characters with hit points and strategies and different things of that nature. But we're gonna start because I wanna start with the favorite. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna kick us off with Triple Triad of Final Fantasy VIII, and potentially I don't know if Casey ended up getting any of his Cactuar money from Triple Triad and the Golden Saucer of Final Fantasy XIV, but I know you can play it there as well.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you. I mean, I guess did you ever go to Golden Saucer in 14?
Yeah, it was actually one of the last things I did before my membership ran out, was finding the Golden Saucer, and then I was kind of starting off. I think I played about 4 or 5 rounds of Triple Triad.
Just think of all the other Scions. They're like, he went off to the Golden Saucer and we never saw him again, and the world was destroyed. But yeah, so did you actually play any Triad or no?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to see if it's exactly the same, or if it may be a little different.
I think it looks different because it's obviously HD and
better.
And the cards are different because there's different characters and stuff. But I think generally the rules were the same, and and stuff like that. It's a little different in 8 though, in the sense that like Final Fantasy 8's Triple Triad starts off really basic. Like there's because the way it works is like when you go to the first town, like you get the cards and you can play people there, and the rules are very basic. It's just like you have your 3x3 grid, so like 9 spaces, and then you have like a very basic deck. So you have villains, like there's a lot of like enemies, NPCs, like even the heroes have cards. And they all have like a number, a 4 grid number. So there's like a number for up, down, left, and right. And basically the whole point of the thing is that you're trying to flip, like you're trying to take the opponent's cards by putting a card down next to their card and your number being higher. So for example, if you had like, let's say the opponent goes first and they go in the middle, and there's 3s all around, up, down, left, right. So if you have a 4 anywhere, you would just set it next to it, and then what happens is that card becomes your card, and then the opponent then takes a turn, and then they try to take, they could take
Flip
multiple
back,
cards
yeah.
depending on it is, or they could take one card. But at the end of the day, like the winner is the one that gets either 6 or 5 cards by the end. So if you go first and you have 5 and the opponent has 4, that's a tie. But if you have 6 and the opponent has 3, then you win. Or if you go second and end up with 5 cards, then you win. But every time you go to a new town, rules are kind of added to the Triple Triad when you're playing in a Final Fantasy VIII, because it's like the regions rules. Like you're adding
like
the regions
home
rules.
team, makes their own little moderations to it.
Yeah, and then what ends up happening is that the rule, like, so when you get that new rule, then the rules just apply to like the rest of the game. Like they literally say like the rules have migrated out to the other towns or whatever. So like by the end you have a much more complex
more robust
Triple Triad
game. Yeah.
And
I think.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think in 14 they have different rule sets depending on who you challenge. I know sometimes all the cards, like early on, it's like, all the cards are exposed. Like you can see your opponent's deck and they can see yours. And then I think as you play more difficult opponents, they don't show that. And then, I think they're, like you said, I don't know if they call them regional or just whatever game modes. Like I think they're little different alterations on the rules there. But I don't know. See, for me with that, it's like, I get the idea for sure, but then like there's combos and then I've had it where like, I flip like 2 cards, or like 5 cards got flipped, or it happened on me, and I it's like I don't know how to replicate that, and I pretty much would just go to the easiest person, play them like 10 times, get the dub real quick, and then get my big fat stack MGP to put towards my mount. So it's one of those things I interact with, on like the very basic, ground floor of it.
Yeah,
but
that's
I do know people go crazy.
Yeah, that's why I think it's better in 8, because you're being like you're getting the rules introduced as you go, so it's
it's not all thrown.
You're not overwhelmed at the beginning, because trying to read the rule book at the very end and being like, holy, there's different combos where it's like when you flip one, then it can flip another, and then it can flip another, depending on, and then there's like elements that come into play later and stuff. Like it's pretty complex. But and then in 8, the other good thing is that I enjoyed is that there's like a collectible component to it, where like you'll just find cards in the out in the world. Like you'll just find like if you go to talk to like you could talk to like some of your allies, like I can't remember the guy with the tattoo on his face's name for some reason. It's blanking on me, but if you talk to his mother, she has hit the card that he's on. So you would talk to the mother to get his card, and there's just like different cards that you could find. So it kind of adds that element into it.
Yeah, in 14 as well, you get cards throughout the game, and then you could purchase cards like from the Golden Saucer. Like there's the Cloud Strife card. I'm pretty sure is 1,000,000 MGP. Because like of course everyone wants that one.
Yeah.
But and it's got like powerful, but and then you get like some cards that are super powerful on like 3 sides, but then they've got like a 1. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you could really only play them in situational roles, but when you can, they're gonna, kick butt. But but yeah, I would say this turned into a triple triad podcast.
How about you, Chris? Did you have any experience in Triple Triad?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Back in the day, and I just love how you said like final. It just teaches you more and more as the game itself goes on, which is just so clever and so well done. Final Fantasy VIII is just a terrific game all around, so it makes sense that its mini game is just fantastic throughout.
It's great that you can pretty much challenge most characters in the game too. I laughed. I think it was only a couple days ago I saw this graphic on Twitter. Somebody had posted this graphic where it was like a comic strip, and there's like a person, and there's like 10 urinals, and there's like one person at one side, and Squall walks in, and he walks right up to the person, stands beside them, and then in the final panel it says, "Want to play Triple Triad?" So,
did you retweet that?
No, I should have though, because it was hilarious.
Maybe I saw it somewhere else because I feel like that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. But so there's that style, but then I think like when you're looking at kind of the tactical card games, it's hard to go wrong with Gwent, like from The Witcher 3. It's just set up in such a great way. Like it's so good that it actually spawned off like spin-off games. Like there's actual games that are just playing Gwent. There's the Thronebreaker, which is kind of like a choose your own adventure, but all the battles are just done in Gwent. And this one, like I said, if you ever played Magic or even like Pokemon to a certain degree, it's kind of similar where you have cards where you have like infantry or different combat characters, and there's 2 rows. You got like the first row, which where you'd put your melee, and then you got the back row, which would be like your archers and magic users and that sort of thing. And there's so much strategy involved because it's not just necessarily defeat your opponent and kind of win the day. There's 3 rounds to Gwent, and sometimes some strategies are like throwing one or the first game or the second game to kind of drain the other team's deck so that you can clobber them in the third game. Because it's basically like you can use a certain amount. It's up to you how many cards you use in each game. But at the end of the round, like whoever has more people on the board, like each card has a value. So when the round is over, you tally up all the values of the cards, and whoever has the most wins the round. And you just do its best 2 out of 3. So a lot of strategy in there. If I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's like a general, I guess, of each side that has a special move that they can use too. So it's each of the cards, like a lot of the combat cards, have like abilities and stuff. So just a ton of stuff going on in Gwent, but a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that they put such a robust game within this game, right? Like it just goes to show you, The Witcher 3, like what an insanely huge game. But yeah, I never
as
really
if the game wasn't long enough too.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like as if they didn't already have enough content. There's literally this other huge game within it. But yeah, I'm like I said, I've never really played The Witcher, or not very very much of it. So Gwent was never something I played, but it's something. Even not playing it, I know about it. Like you said, I could have told you like, oh yeah, it's sort of like Magic. I wouldn't have been able to tell you like the intricacies of it. You know what I mean? But like I knew what it is, and it's just sort of cool that like there's like a fan base around just that game, within there. So pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very good, and a lot of times the flow of the matches themselves can swing wildly from advantage to the other side. So you can start out great and just get annihilated at the end, but then vice versa, you can be really behind at first, but you have it planned out for those full 3 rounds. It's really cool how they do it. And I'm glad you mentioned Thronebreaker, because that's a really interesting game, because not the battles in that aren't always the traditional Gwent battles. A lot of them are a lot like puzzles where they give you a certain number of cards, specific cards, and you have to meet a certain win condition. And some of them are very good, and some of them will just make you pull your hair out because mathematically it doesn't make any sense. And Gwent is just it's a terrific game, and yeah, there's a reason why it has its own games now, because it's just mechanically so sound.
Yeah, I remember one. I don't remember the specific battle, but I just remember one in Thronebreaker where I'm looking at it and I'm like, how is this even possible? This is insane. And then, just not doing it like 4 times in the row, and on the 5th time, I think like by thanks of like some kind of random generation, I just happened to get like the right card at the right time and just get it by the skin of my teeth. Like it was, talk about it relaxing. I was so relieved when that match was done. But to move on to here's our Trails of Cold Steel reference again. So everyone at home, it's time for another shot. They Trails of Cold Steel has a game very similar to Gwent. This one, it's funny, like in the tetralogy or however you pronounce it there, the four games there, they actually switched up games. Like in the first, in Cold Steel 1 and 2, they had a game called Blade, which was this it was a strange game where there was like, you had like 13 cards or something, and they had numbers, and it was basically almost like a game of war, and you just needed to be the last one with cards in your hand. But then in Trails of Cold Steel 3 and 4, they switched to Vantage Masters. And this one is very similar to Gwent, where it has like a front row and a back row. But the whole point of the way to win the game is much different, in the sense that it's basically like you have to eliminate the other team's general and you win. So it doesn't matter, who's left on the board. Once the general's HP goes down, that's it.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, and so the strategy is much different, because it's like sometimes it could be a matter of like, maybe you try to keep the other team's general, like the other team, from amassing army, or maybe you just like try to go for speed and get as many down as you can, and then just send them all after the general, or something of that nature. And one of the things that it's not as good as Gwent for sure. It's the difficulty is way down. Like a lot of the times the opponents almost seem stupid, because it's like there was times where like I just wasn't getting the cards dealt, and like I should have been walloped, but then the computer just wouldn't beat me, or would make silly decisions. And yeah, I held back. I'm like, all right, if you're just gonna let me win, like that's fine. Let's I don't want to waste any more time in this game than I need to. So let's finish this card game up and move on. But it's worth mentioning that it's there, but at the same time, even someone like me who's such a Cold Steel or like Trails in general fan, this one kind of missed the mark for me. I can't say that I spent a whole lot of time searching out the cards and then picking up all the decks. This was an accomplishment I was not worried about getting the trophy for.
Yeah, I did mostly fishing in this one. I played only a few rounds in Cold Steel 3 about this, and like, I don't need that anymore. I don't care if I get the other cards or whatever achievement that is. I just want to go through the story and fish when I find fishing spots.
Yeah, I was more happy to get the cooking achievement. Give me that trophy.
Yeah.
But there's our last card game that we have. I sort of remember, because I have played Fallout New Vegas, but man, it must have been like 15 years ago, because my mind is drawing a blank on this one. So I'm gonna let you take the reins on this one, Chris.
Yeah, and this is, again, my memory is only slightly better than yours about it. I just remember it being very good and like really surprising, because I don't think a lot of people were talking about it at the time. And people were, New Vegas kind of had like a mixed reception at first, and then it went on to become a cult classic. But I just remember like getting to this card game, like, this is actually a pretty good card game in here. And the story behind it is just terrific. In the game, they explain that the reason this card game exists is because the caravan guards in this part were just collecting, playing cards off the corpses of bodies that they were recovering in their travels. So they made a game out of it, which is fantastic. But I think what you do in the game is you're kind of building a deck where you're laying down cards in different suits, and you're trying to get in a point value higher than your opponent, but it has to be within a certain range. And I think it was from 21 to 26. So you don't have a lot of room in there. So you're trying to build this caravan of cards within that point value, and you want to beat your opponent. and if you go too far over, I think it reduces the points, and under. So it was a really clever little game, and I think I spent way too much time playing that than some of the other parts of Fallout New Vegas. But it was really interesting how they did that.
As I say, that sounds cool. I like that sort of like the risk reward, right? Like, ooh, I'm within the range, but I'm on the low side. Do I push it, and then risk that going over?
And I'm pretty sure you could collect, as if you defeated players, you get more cards for your deck. And I might be getting this wrong, but I'm pretty confident this is right. It's a Fallout game. Chances are, if you lost and you'd kill them anyway and loot their body, you would just get the card anyway. So
that sounds familiar. That sounds like something I was doing in that game.
So you can have like an OP deck just from killing everybody and taking the cards, and you're great.
Yeah, just the description of it brings back, like, I'm having flashes of it. I remember that range thing. So it's one of those games that now that with Game Pass, I think you can just download it as part of the catalog. So it's a game that probably I might go back to one of these days.
Yeah, especially now since it probably runs really well on the Series S and X. Probably not as many bugs as there were back in the day. Back then there were lots of bugs.
I'm sure
there'll still be some bugs.
Oh yeah, that's part of the charm, but they'll at least be playable now.
Isn't that funny? They swindled us into thinking that's charm.
I don't know. Dragons flying back.
Well, I prefer my dragons flying backwards. So that is no problem there. Casey, before we move on to the final category, tell us what games were you drawn towards when you're getting all your MGP for that big cactuar?
Okay, so every 20 minutes of real time, so like at the top of the hour, which it just happens to be exactly right this second. Then like the 20 minutes after, and then 40 minutes, they have like a rotating gate, they call them, which are just like instanced mini games. So I really like the leap of faith one, where it's like you're put on this, essentially it's just like a jumping course, and like you'll be jumping from like different areas, like just platforms, and like you'll collect little cactuar trophies as you go to get bonus points. And like if you fall, you just get sent back to the beginning. So it's not too punishing, but they give you 10 minutes, and they've got a whole bunch of like, well, I should say they've got like sort of two different areas, and then they're different layouts each time. Not each time, like you do get repeats, but I really like that one. There are a couple, like the slices right, where like the guy, like big huge bamboo shoots come up, and then they cut them, and there's like a whole bunch of different ways they could fall, and you got to sort of dodge it, and dodge a series of those. And then within the actual golden saucer, there's even smaller mini games where it's like, like there's like literally like the pop shot, like in real life with little basketballs, right? Like, and then you shoot, and if you miss, it like rolls back to you, right? Like they literally have that in there. They have like like hit in the right spot on the gauge, and then like you whack a hammer down, and punishing hit. So just like fun little stuff like that. They've got chocobo racing, which isn't all that exciting, but it's something you can do. And then there's actually tied to it, you could like get a chocobo, I guess, with great stats and stuff. But I'm trying to think. There's Air Force One. That might actually be my favorite. You're just on like a little roller coaster, essentially. And then like you just shoot the targets that come up. But then there's sometimes bad targets, so you got to avoid those. But yeah, they're nothing too crazy, but they're a series of fun little games to distract you.
Sounds like a Square Enix Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, I used to love Chuck E. Cheese. That was a good reference. Sorry. No, I approve of the Chuck E. Cheese comment. But yeah, I feel like Chuck E. Cheese used to be great. And then, I don't know.
Then we grew up.
Yeah. Now they won't let David back in.
Well, I don't know about you guys. The ones by me are kind of dangerous. There's been shootings at them, so I don't know.
Oh, geez. I don't know. Well, I'll stay away. I can't say I was going to any Chuck E. Cheese's anyway weekend.
Well, this is the perfect segue into our final category, which is basically just the weird games. And Yeah, when I think of like weird games, one franchise just jumps out right away to me, and that's the Yakuza franchise. And it's funny. I started playing Yakuza Like a Dragon. It was probably a couple months ago, and just got back into it just a couple days ago before the recording, just by chance because I was between RPGs, and I got to the point where Ichiban was starting to they were starting to introduce the mini games, so I was able to experience a few firsthand, which are pretty funny, and yeah, they just got a ton of these weird mini games like. Specifically for Like a Dragon, they have like Survival Can Collection, which is so at the beginning of the game, Ichiban ends up like he goes to jail for 18 years, and when he gets out, like this is all the intro, it's not a spoiler. When he gets out after his sentence, the clan that he's with, like they kind of like don't want him around anymore. So he's homeless, and so these people at this like homeless place are like showing him basically like how to make money. So one of the things is they have this bike that has it's kind of got like a rack built in the back to collect cans off the ground. And so the mini game is that like basically you're just pedaling the bike around like a track or streets, and there's cans in the middle of the ground, and you're just running over the cans, and they kind of automatically go into your bike. And but there's also other homeless people that are also on bikes, and they're trying to ram you, and you're trying to ram them, and so you're like biking in circles trying to pick up as many as you can, and then you have to avoid being hit or you'll lose cans. And then to ram the other guys, there's like turbo boosts that you can run into that like shoot you off, so you have to hit the other homeless people with your bike while you're in turbo to steal their cans. And it's just wild.
Sounds zany.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. But they got so much in Yakuza, like there's, golf driving, shogi. There's a Mario Kart ripoff called Dragon Kart. There's a property management game, which is like, I haven't gotten to that, but I've seen just like clips of it, and it looks pretty funny. I remember back in I can't remember if it was Yakuza 0 or Kiwami. One of the early mini games that I played as Kiryu was the RC car racing, where he shows off like his RC car like in a pose and stuff, and then you're like racing it around the track. Man, Yakuza has just a lot of weird, fun mini games that are just like, they're just everywhere too. Like you just running around the map, you just pop into a store when you want to do it or whatever. It's pretty fun.
Oh, he's sort of there for you.
Yeah. Oh, the batting practice. It's funny. I watched Yakuza's made this movie. Like there was this Japanese made Yakuza movie, which is so weird. It's hilarious. But there's this one scene where Goro, Adachi, he's at batting practice, and like somebody ticks him off or whatever, and he just like starts beating the guy with the bat while he's and still not really losing, like the balls are still being pitched and he's like still hitting them and stuff. Like it's just it's hilarious. Like there's this picture, I think I tweeted it a long time ago, where like there's a guy literally like bleeding out below him, and like there's balls like being pitched over and he's hitting them while the guy's lying on the ground bleeding on the floor. It's just
That's amazing.
The batting practice is pretty fun.
Yeah, I really want to play Like a Dragon, because Yakuza is one of those games series I was always intimidated by, because by the time I wanted to start playing them, there were 5 games already, and it's like, okay, I'm not doing all that, but Like a Dragon is supposed to be like a fresh start where you don't have to really know much about the other ones, and just how zany and wild it sounds is just sounds great.
Yeah, it's on my radar too. Because I've never really played any of those games either.
I think you can get Like a Dragon on now that you got Game Pass. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I bought my computer, they gave me a month free. And then I was like, well, do I take this free month and then I lose out on that $1 for 3 months or whatever it is, But then I looked, and I set that up, and then I still have my free month in the piggy bank. So I'll have
That's
4
good.
months of Game Pass for $1, which is
Sweet.
honestly, I was looking at it, I'm like, man, like I know Game Pass is a stupid, awesome deal, but like now that I actually have it, like to really like
Yeah.
contextualize it, it's like, oh my god.
It can be overwhelming, like when you're looking at the catalog.
Well, I tell you what, it was overwhelming, that freaking 100 gig download for Forza. Good lord.
Yeah.
David be downloading that for 4 months.
Yeah, it would take a long time. I don't even think, I don't know. I probably won't. I got too many games coming up here that I don't think I have the time for Forza. But
I'm
yeah,
really
there's
more interested in Gran Turismo for PlayStation because I can play it in 4K. You know.
Yeah.
Because I don't have it as Series X, so I'd be playing on PC.
Yeah.
But I figured I was like, well, for $1, I might as well download it and play it, and even if I play for an hour, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think you can play this this next game. I think you can play it on Game Pass. I could be wrong, but I know.
Oh, I think so.
For anyone,
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's on there because I know Final Fantasy X. Yeah.
I think all the earlier, or like, I think 7, 8, 9, 10, 15.
Yeah, I think they were all in there at one point if they're not there now.
Yeah,
but
I think 13's in there too. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they still are.
Yeah. I laughed out loud when I saw it added to the script because I remember I recently played Final Fantasy X-2 or X2 or however you want to call it. And I remember this scene early in the game that was crazy to me. This is the back massage mini game, and where I think it's Yuna, right? The main character is Yuna. And
yeah.
Somehow there's like this weird setup where she's massaging the back of the main villain.
Yeah, because what you do, if I remember right, what you do is you're like you have to sneak into this complex for the villain. This part LeBlanc.
Yeah.
So you steal clothes and do it, and part of your responsibilities as one of her guards is the back massage, which is just delightfully weird mini game out of nowhere. That is emblematic of Final Fantasy and its weird one-off mini games. That
it sounds like it should be a game in Dragon Quest. Some puff.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to play that mini game with the volume too loud.
No, because the noises that LeBlanc makes during it are just insane. It's
don't do that one on the train, is what you're saying.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't want to be playing that on your Switch too loud on the subway.
Yeah, wear headphones, and make sure no one can see what's going on because it is it is something. It's
funny. It made me think of the very similar one in Final Fantasy VII Remake with Cloud, and when you meet the masseuse there, and but it's like she's just massaging his hand.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you remember that one, Casey, where I'm
trying to think. Yeah,
it's part of when it's like right before the honeybee. I think it's like part of there's like 3 things you have to do. Like there's like the 3 managers that you have to convince to sponsor you to go to.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, and the woman runs like a massage parlor, and when you go in, I think there's like 3 levels of massage that you could purchase. And I'm like, I don't know. I'll just buy the most expensive one because that I want to see what's going to happen. And then
I'm a baller.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like Cloud is like barely walking when he gets out of the room, and Eris is just looking at him like, what happened back there?
Oh, that whole section of the game is just so wonderful.
Yeah.
But speaking of Final Fantasy VII, I was going to say, we've got a couple of strange ones in there. I think Fort Condor, right? Like, I remember, especially at the time, like to throw sort of like a real-time strategy weird game within there. And maybe it was also partially because just like I guess early on, like I just, mini games, like weird. Like I would think of like Mario and Luigi, like there's a lot of like weird mini games in there, right? And most of it is actually sort of conducive to the main plot. Like when you're inside a Bowser and you're like playing the mini game to like control his arm and stuff. But I guess like so early on, like these weird, like to get like such a drastically different style of like the real time strategy in there. Like I remember that being really weird.
Yeah, well, Final
But then
Fantasy
there's also
is just yeah.
as I
Did
say,
you
there's
play
also
that in
the four
intergrade?
conduct- I was gonna say yeah, there's the intergrade one as well, which I didn't really play, but that puts like that one seems like obviously a little more fleshed out than the
Yeah,
original,
very
to say the
very
least.
complex.
But yeah, and they put like a really great like you like get up close and personal. Like I'm watching a video right now, and like the little characters look amazing. So I really should give that a play. But yeah, I thought it was cool that they took that first mini game and then like sort of fleshed it out to build a more prevalent right mini game for Condor throughout the DLC there. But even Final Fantasy, there's all sort like the snowboarding mini game. Like you got to do the hit the button presses right, do the squats and stuff. Like they've always thrown weird little strange one offs in there. But I love that stuff.
Tifa was chin ups, right? Because I remember Tifa
yeah.
had one, but I can't remember what hers was. I think it was chin ups or something.
Chin ups, yeah. Don't they expand that in the remake where they have like a pull up challenge for them?
Yeah,
at some point. Yeah,
yeah. I think Cloud had to take on one of the wrestlers in squats, and then later on Tifa did like chin ups or something.
Yeah, what are they going to do with the snowboarding minigame in the remake? Because that thing was terrible back in the day.
I hope
and it was required. It was required. You couldn't skip it. You had to pass it.
Get good.
Yeah.
Oh man, I Final Fantasy VII remake's so good. I just they're just periodically throughout the days. I should really just play more of that. And then I'm like, oh, there's just so much other crap to play. But so good.
Yeah. No, I'm sure they're gonna have it in the next one. I assume. I guess it depends if how in depth the like part 2 is. Like if it gets to that point or not, or if I don't know. If we have to wait for part 3.
I hope it's some sort of like arcade game where it's literally the same crappy version of the original that you have to play. Like, so it plays exactly the same, and you're like, oh my god, this sucks so bad.
That would be fantastic. You get to the village, and instead of the kid giving you the snowboard, he's like, you have to play this, and I'll show you a way out. You have to.
Yeah, and it just sucks. It's the same exact thing. Please, Square, please.
That would be awesome.
It would be and like one of the characters. It would be funny if Aerith is like, "Man, Cloud, that sprite looks like you."
Yeah, yeah, that sprite's handsome.
Yeah, and it would be better too if you get chirped by your party members if you don't get it on the first try.
Oh yeah, you stink. Or even like any little mistake you make.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Any flat tree you hit, any snowman you hit, which will be all of them because it sucks. They'll just be trying you.
So good.
Well, any final stuff before we wrap up this week's episode?
No, I think we got them all. I think we got all the mini games. There are no more to talk about. We did it. Fitting too with Mario Party just releasing mini games all over the joint. I don't know if you guys have been playing the new Mario Party.
No,
not yet.
How?
Super good, dude. Super good. The online works like we've had a little bit of lag here and there, but really not bad at all. And actually super surprising how good the online's been. But yeah.
That is really surprising, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even if you drop, like if we were all playing and David dropped because he lives in the sticks, it would be seamless for us. It'd be like David left the game or disconnected. Then an AI would take over his player without any slowdown, and then David could rejoin, as soon as your internet's good, which like we were playing with our buddy Lemonade, and he lost connection, but he missed one mini game and then he was back in it. So I was like, oh man, maybe Nintendo's learning a little bit.
That's good that you can get back into the game after getting disconnected.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, it didn't slow anyone else down. Like it wasn't like a hold on, like Animal Crossing, like, wait, everyone stop what you're doing. We got to let you know this person's joining the game. So it's like just real seamless, which like I said, again, for Nintendo, right? It's like, all right.
Well,
babies. I mean, it is 2021.
Yeah, I've never understood how Splatoon 2, which came out at the beginning of the Switch life cycle, it was pretty solid. Like I don't recall too many dropouts. Like there was there you had some, but like how can they nail that? And then like basically every other game is just awful. Like,
it's like when they try, it works.
yeah, it's either like I don't know if Splatoon 2 just has like a completely different company doing the servers, or if it's just like a matter of, well, we kind of need this game to be good, so we're gonna put an effort into it, whereas like no effort is put out on any other game. Like
could be.
It's just,
I mean,
strange.
effort takes time and money, and that's something Nintendo doesn't always like to do. They like to make money instead. So yeah.
Well, they're making way more money now with the online, so maybe some will actually get kicked back into it.
I'm not gonna hold my breath on that one, but that could be its own mini game.
Yeah, I'm still better. We don't have our Game Boy games on the Switch right now. That just kills me. But one day,
maybe Switch 2
in 2026.
Yeah,
that's seeming more likely now that the Nintendo president like flat out just said, "Yeah, we're at the halfway point."
Good Lord. I don't even want to know what a 2024 Switch game runs like. like a port, you know what I mean? Like
it'll
someone else's.
It's going to be 90% cloud version games by the time we get to the end there.
Yeah, they'll probably just keep beefing up the models to run cloud better. That's it. Just slightly better to do that.
Let's hope that was just mumbo jumbo talk so people keep buying Switches.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Like, it was funny because today was the Thunderful presentation, and I was shocked that there was really, like, first of all, there was no like Switch game per se. There was like 10 announcements, and 2 were for quote unquote consoles.
Yeah,
like the rest were for either Stadia, PlayStation, or Xbox specifically. Like there was no Switch. No Switch logos in this presentation. It shocked me because it seems like Thunderful really like made a name for itself. Like I understand they were around before the Switch, but it just seems like they became a big deal during like the early days of the Switch, and now they're like, yeah, we're moving on.
Yeah, they're moving into the 3D modeling now, and Headhunt. Like Headhunt actually looks really cool. So I don't think the Switches can handle that anymore. Unless it's a cloud, and I don't think Thunderful's doing cloud-based gaming.
No.
Yeah. Well, what they should be doing is working on freaking Heist 2. But that's neither here nor there.
We'll save Heist 2 for another podcast episode. So I guess that'll do us for this week. I guess we know what Casey's what he's up to now that he's got Game Pass and Final Fantasy 14 and
dude,
I don't know what
SMT
you're gonna
this weekend.
SMT coming up, man. You got more games than you know what to do with now.
I know, with Final Fantasy being delayed, like it sort of sucks because I'm going to a wedding in New York in the beginning of December. So like, I actually come back the day before its launch, which would be great, right? But like, I miss out on that pre-order early access window. But it gives me 2 more weeks to not only finish Shadowbringers, which is awesome by the way, but it gives me more time for SMT. So I'm actually wasn't too upset about it. There's so many games. It's like I keep forgetting like it's November. There's a reason why all these games are coming out.
Yeah, and then you still got Pokemon coming out too soon.
Yeah, that one I'm gonna save for probably a good Christmas game. Like if someone wants to get it for me for Christmas. But
I was gonna say that seems like a Christmas list game. A game you wouldn't pay for yourself, but have no problem.
I've been thinking like
pick it up.
That, like Deathloop, like games like maybe a GTA kind of thing. Like that might be. Those are like Christmassy games for me. Like interested, but probably not going to buy myself.
Mm-hmm. And how about you, Chris? What are you playing? I think you're looking forward to SMT5 as well, right?
Yeah, I'll probably end up getting SMT5. So in the meantime, because Star Wars Battlefront 2 is always on sale for like under $5 or something, so I picked that up a few months ago, and every once in a while I just go into that. I just think that's a really fun multiplayer game, and for my base PS4, that it's actually runs surprisingly really well. So it's good just to kick back for 15-20 minutes at a time and watch the stupidity unfold in the Star Wars universe. So doing that until SMT5 gets here.
Oh,
yeah,
I
for
can't
me,
wait.
I have to say thank you to Estuardo. I think
Yep. Yeah, I think
Yep,
it was Esparta.
Estuardo that had I guess he won a Watchdog Legion's like Ultimate Deluxe edition digital copy of Watch Dogs Legion, and because he doesn't have an Xbox or I guess it was a PlayStation code. I guess he doesn't have a
Yeah,
PlayStation.
I think he's got an Xbox. Yeah.
Yeah, so because it was a PlayStation code, he was kind enough to give it to me, and I started up this morning, and man, I'm loving it. Like it's kind of right up my alley of open world where you can just cause as much mischief as you want. So I'm having a lot of fun like hacking stuff and recruiting people. It's basically like this great big open world puzzle. Like it's basically all the recruitments. There's like a quest that you have to do. Like you just walk up to anybody on the street and then start a recruitment process where they have like a quest that you need to do for them, and then they'll join your cause. And it's always like this puzzly sort of thing where it's like steal this car from this restricted area, and you got to figure out how to get the car out of there without being seen.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really, really neat. Like I've done some of and then there was one guy who needed me to hack something from a computer, so I had to find a way to kind of jump from computer to computer to get the hack. And it's just like it's like puzzles. It's just like, how do I get into this room without getting there here and without being seen? And like I haven't even unlocked it. Like I think I've been kind of going in the wrong order where I've been like trying to take on these quests where the game keeps telling me like, well, why don't you go get the equipment first? And I'm like, no, I want to keep doing these quests. Like,
tell me what to do.
Equipment. Yeah, I don't care about this equipment. I can do it without it. Right? And then there was one where it just wasn't working, and it was clear that I was like supposed to have a drone or something, but the characters I hadn't found a drone yet. So I just decided to hack the cars to run over everyone in the compound. So I just kept running people over repeatedly with cars and vans. So then that was my workaround for not having the drone.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah.
It's cool that you got the options though.
Yeah. So it's really fun. I enjoyed the first two Watch Dogs. I don't know why. Like I don't know. I guess I kind of just had my nose up at Ubisoft games recently, I guess, and I was always a fan of the first two Watch Dogs and never picked up the third one. But happy I'm playing it now. It could even be too distracting. I'm having that much fun with it. So
yeah, I remember there was a time you were going to rejoin me in Eorzea.
Yeah, that's right. I still have to come around. Maybe get through SMT and then head back over the Christmas time.
Are you definitely you're getting SMT for Shurzy?
Yep. Yeah, I'm definitely getting
awesome.
5.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we'll have to get things back together like the old Xenoblade days with.
Yeah, dude, that's still
up.
I think that game's outstanding no matter what. But I feel like the joint. Because I feel like we were always like neck and neck at the same exact spots, give or take, a couple hours or whatever. But yeah, that was super fun.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. So yeah. And if anyone wants to join us, just head on over to our Discord, which you can find on our site, thethirstymage.com. And we'll have some SMT5 fun. So.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah, well, I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank Chris and Casey for coming out and having reminiscing about some fun mini games. Mm-hmm. It's a whole lot of fun. But until then, we'll see everyone out at the next Thirsty Mage. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. See ya.